Welcome to A Therapist, Buddhist and You. My name is Luke DuBois, and I'm here with co-host Zaw Mall.
Hello, everyone.
We are brought to you, as usual, by the Recovery Collective in Annapolis, Maryland, and thank you all for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here again.
It's a special occasion today because it is Zaw's birthday, and we just ate ice cream.
Oh, that was delicious.
In celebration of his birthday. And I am blissful, and I am happy.
That's great.
What a great topic. Let's talk about today, Zaw. Not just your birthday, but happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
So if you like Zaw and his birthday, like, comment, and share.
I turned 47. I've been messing around with people that I'm 47. I just look young.
That wisdom leads to Benjamin Button syndrome there. Let's talk about happiness, the joy, the pursuit of, the gift of happiness, the importance of happiness.
Yeah, it's a good topic. This topic came to mind of, I guess the term is true happiness or genuine happiness, not like a fleeting pleasure, pleasant sensation that is unquenchable or a craving that is unquenchable, but more of a sustainable happiness. Because after my birthday, I started thinking about time, like how limited time is. So I came up with this amount of times available throughout the week and how much commitment I have and how much little time I have. And then the more I think about it, it's like time being used up. It's like a limited resource. But then the bright spot of my life has also been human connection with other people. So I just started thinking about that. I cannot create more time. I only have 24 hours a day. Everybody has 24 hours, but I can create more meaning in my life. And I feel like that's where the true, genuine happiness lies in a way. So that's why I wanted to talk about this topic from the point of view of creating a life that is meaningful. It can be material, but less important, but more of like spiritual or relational, where life is meaningful through human connections, and then relate that with the idea of genuine happiness, either from a Buddhist point of view or from your therapy point of view as well. When you help people, when people get to that place of freedom, joy, happiness, life is very, a gift in a way,
When I listen to or hear a topic, whether it's in a group setting or support group, I try to think of, okay, when I think of happiness, how else can I explain or feel that? And I think a level of contentment. I think of an inner peace, no matter of the external complexities of life that happens. Like, how can I have that genuine happiness with life stuff? That's what comes to my mind when you say genuine happiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the definition or the term in Pali that is used for true, or tissa is the truth, like the noble truth. I'm trying to relate that to that true is something that doesn't contradict itself. So like connecting that with happiness, it's very meaningful for me that when I was chasing after pleasure out of like drugs and alcohol and all these things, it's a happiness that contradicts itself. It doesn't stay faithful, It changes or it crashes or it's not. It's an illusion. But when it comes to true happiness, it's something that is sustainable, that is reliable, that is secure. And the best part is that for me to be happy, I don't need to take anything away from anybody else. That to me is a genuine happiness because I can draw it out from within. And I think that's a very empowering concept that I've learned from Buddhism, that when I say, may I learn how to be truly happy, it's a win-win situation because it doesn't mean that I have to take this stuff away from someone else for me to be happy, but it's all internal.
Yeah, I think society offers or sells the idea of quick fix solutions for happiness. Buddhism does not. And to your point, you're saying happiness is within, but it's certainly a a marketing angle to get happiness in a very quick way. How does Buddhism give an alternative perspective on happiness compared to society's quick fix solutions?
Yeah. How do I simplify it? So in the 16-step discourse, the mindfulness of breathing, there are 4 categories, and the second category deals with feelings. The first category deals with the body, or the breathing, or the 32 parts of the body, and it transitions into the second part, which is the feeling, vedana. And there's a metaphor or imagery used there that we can use the breath to calm the body. And then the word that they use is piti, which is translated as rapture. And the image that they use is like a spring lake, or it's a lake. There's a internal spring that comes from within, and it cools the lake. So it's not receiving anything from the outside, but it's receiving something internal. So that is a kind of a description of happiness, or dukkha is a Pali term for happiness. So I don't know if that answers your question or if that creates more question. But I'm trying to simplify what happiness means in Buddhism.
What are some other words in Burmese that are, like my mind went synonyms for happiness: serenity, peace, internal peace, regardless of external chaos. What are some other descriptors of true happiness?
Yeah, I mean, some kind of clarity, concentration, calmness. These are all description of happiness. Some sort of like stability, because the First Noble Truth and the impermanence, like things are always in flux. But there's also a sense of stability in a way of that. Yeah, it is true. So let me just partner with what is true, and then you get a solid foundation by standing on that. So if I look at the world from that point of view, that everything is changing, there is suffering in life, and nothing is personal. So if I stand on that ground, that's where the secure and reliable happiness is, because I'm standing with the truth, as opposed to, I'll never lose this relationship. My love will be forever, or I will be in a maximum health for the rest of my life. I'll never grow old. So if I'm like partnering myself with those illusions, then that's a happiness that can contradict itself. So,
yeah, when you say that, standing with the truth, that can be, right now suffering has happened, or the truth is that I've got happiness in my life. I don't know if that's contradictory or the paradox of acceptance or the reality of life. But my mind goes, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, I have true happiness if I have purpose in my life. I don't think that's a Buddhist way of looking at things when it comes to happiness. That if I have purpose in my life, that I'm living for a reason, that will lead to a level of happiness that I wouldn't have. We often see, in terms of stages of change, people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, if they didn't feel like they had a purposeful life, then, that may lead to sadness, depression, and why? Lack of happiness. I don't know if Buddhism looks at it that way.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, or I'm not sure. Maybe you can expand more on that because I do feel like that can bring happiness to live a purposeful life.
Okay.
I don't think that contradicts, or that there is a room for that in a Buddhist world as well, or to live a meaningful life. And that's also the thing that, like, I am as happy as I make it up to be, in a way. That, like, what do I want out of life, and then staying true to that.
Is it because one of the Buddhist teachings is living altruistically? Is that, help me understand.
Yeah, that's a little of a complex subject, but we can simplify it in a way of like a virtuous life. Virtuous life as in like taking actions that doesn't cause harmfulness. So in that way, because altruism can be kind of like a ideal poster child kind of picture where it's too good to be true, that you're so altruistic. But a step down, or more realistic way is to be like living a life that causes less harm, which in a way promotes loving kindness to other people anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not stealing, if I'm not lying, if I'm not doing any kind of sexual misconduct, use of drugs, these are all that leads to the opposite of altruism. But when I'm living an ethical, virtuous life, I'm actually radiating peace, which creates that room for altruistic mindset naturally without having to go out of my way to do that.
Mm-hmm. Tell us more about your perspective on happiness.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, it all comes back to the Eightfold Path, the very first category of the Eightfold Path of morality. So that for me is where happiness lies. And also that's also what every time I talk to my mother, or my relatives, Burmese relatives from my dad's side, my aunts, they always talk about how important it is to maintain the precepts, because that way, that's the most secure way to stay happy. But if I don't, I'm standing on a very loose ground. So what they mean by that is that if I hold true to those 5 precepts on a regular basis, my happiness is stable. But like, not happiness as in pleasurable things, but it's more about calmness, that I don't lie, or I try my best not to lie, no sexual misconduct, no killing, no stealing, no use of drugs or alcohol. Like, those are the bare minimum of 5 precepts. And if I stay true to that, happiness is sustainable.
So that piggybacks on our previous episode on guilt. If you live by these precepts or these morals and values or these spiritual principles, then that aligns with contentment or a level of true happiness. Is that a simplified way of looking at it?
Yeah, it is. But also, like, this is like speaking from my own experience too, is that they don't have to be the barriers in a way, these precepts, because I used to live that way, that, I will never break them. Only then I'll be happy. But like, life is not that way, Sometimes I got to break those to realize that, I don't like this way. And I want to stay in that refuge, in that zone of where I feel confident and secure and good self-esteem.
So why don't you tell us on your birthday a time you broke one of these precepts?
Multiples. Yeah, I don't think we'll have enough time.
That was the political out right there. Well, let's talk about happiness flourishing, a meaningful life unveiled, if you will. Physical health, is that a necessary ingredient for genuine happiness, do you think? Physical health. Hey listeners, we've got something extraordinary to share, a chance to reshape your journey no matter where you are. You're familiar with Zal Maul's insights on our podcast, but there's more. Through the Recovery Collective, he offers life, mindfulness, recovery coaching, and meditation groups guiding you toward a fulfilled and mindful existence, no matter your location. Zal's journey from a Burmese Buddhist novice to a skilled practitioner equips him with timeless wisdom and contemporary strategies. Whether you're navigating life's shifts, seeking clarity, or pursuing self-awareness, Zal's coaching serves as a compass guiding you toward success. The best part? Zal's approach centers on your growth and empowerment. He equips you with tools to tap into your inner strengths for continuous evolution no matter where you are. Ready to take that next step in your personal growth journey? Connect with Zal Maul and the Recovery Collective at 240-813-8135 from anywhere in the world. Investigating in your journey reaps immeasurable rewards. Let Zal Maul guide you toward resilience, clarity, and empowerment no matter where life finds you. Now, let's transition back into our conversation. Stay tuned, stay curious, and keep your journey growing.
Yeah, I think there are different opinions around that. But for me, where I am in my life today, physical health is very important. I wouldn't say it's a prerequisite, but, the way I've heard of it from a good friend is that my body is a vehicle for my soul to ride on. So might as well maintain the vehicle to be in a good shape. Then I have a better chance at living a spiritually fit life, But I think there's also other school of thought in Buddhism too, where body is just a distraction. The calmness of mind is more important. So, but for me, where I stand today is treating both equally, both body and the mind needs to be in good shape.
I think that's ideal, but I've certainly seen a lot of people with physical ailments, cancers, who are some of the happiest, genuinely happiest people I've ever met in my life, where as an outsider trying to connect and empathize with them, I feel sympathy and hurt and like can't fathom how can someone that knows that they may not live can have that much happiness. I'll give you an example. Locally, there's this kid, his name is Moe Gaba, and he was raised in Glen Burnie, and his first diagnosis of cancer occurred at the age of 9 months old. And soon after that, he became blind. And after 2 diagnoses of retinoblastoma, he was diagnosed with osteocarcinoma or anyway, more cancers at the age of 6. And he turned around a city. And what I mean by that, he was like the number 1 fan for the Baltimore Ravens and the Baltimore Orioles. He would call into the local sports radio stations, and he became famous. This kid that had physical pains, was blind, multiple cancers and surgeries and treatments, but he had this infectious laugh and this joy of life that was contagious. So much so, unfortunately, he did pass in July of 2020. The city mourned that he had such an effect on the city and the players. There was one player for the Orioles that had colon cancer, and he got really close with Moe, this boy who was in a wheelchair, because he was inspiring, that he had this joy even though he was going through suffering. And even the Baltimore Ravens put Baltimore, they put Moe in the end zone to honor him, and there's a Moe Gaba Day. And he just had this contagious, infectious joy for life, even though he was physically suffering with cancer and ultimately succumbed to it. But you would never know or see that from the interactions he had in this legitimate joy for life, even though there was tons of suffering.
Yeah, that's inspiring, and that connects back to how we began the conversation about the essence of life. So it's not about the quantity of time that a person lived, but like the essence that his life produced to other people. You know, that is very inspiring, and
he flourished even in pain. There was this flourishing. I look at the word. He was flowering. There was this expansion of just joy that was coming out of him, even though it wasn't. There was days he was bedridden.
Yeah. These are just words, but like as we're talking, I'm also being reminded of like that term of true happiness, which reminds me that happiness parallels or proportional with the truth. Truth is something that is truthful, is where the happiness is. So what I mean by that is that truth cannot be concealed. If it is concealed, happiness is either fake or it's not sustainable. As you were talking to, I was recalling this was a long, long time ago. I was still pretty young. My dad is a doctor, so I heard about this from him or overheard about that. I don't know if it was a hypothetical situation or if it was one of his patients, but he was just, this is what I remember, the difference between like when somebody is diagnosed with cancer, the family members empathize and don't really let the patient know because they don't want the patient to be heartbroken, so they hold it off. But it actually is damaging the patient. What he was saying is that when we say the truth to the patient, like the body has a very complex and interesting mechanism to accept the truth and then start preparing for death. Like it brings ease and comfort to the body, like the calmness and the happiness.
It's like it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then but when that news is kind of concealed, the patient is like kind of having these contradictory feelings that, oh, I think I'm still going to live, but I don't feel good, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
So I'm also being reminded of that like happiness comes from accepting the truth, partnering again, with the truth, and then standing on that ground.
Yeah, that's making me think as I process that. Because I can see that. I don't know if I can relate to that, but I believe that in my essence that is so true. I've never heard it that way. I wish there was more awareness around that. I really wish that was true. I mean, you see it in death, right? Whether it's the denial of the family, or maybe with the individual, that maybe they didn't have this true happiness or this level of acceptance, where that fight does happen.
Mm.
Can you talk more about moving from the dukkha to like liberation? Do you know what I mean by that?
The freedom from suffering?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, that's the goal of Buddhism, which is attainable in this
Sum
lifetime.
that up for us on your birthday.
No, I'm not going to go to that level, but I'll just do that with, dukkha, which is also a concept in Buddhism, joy or pleasant experience, which is actually part of dukkha, because they do go away. But for me, I'm okay settling with that right now in my life. But yeah, there is suffering, separation from the ones that I love, or the loss of people that I care about, stuff like that. But then the dukkha part is that there are meaningful things going on. And this is also the message that I wanted to carry to the listeners too, which I want to actually encourage people, whether you're in a most happy place or most depressed place, but human connection is so important. For me, like that's where joy is, in a way, that a sense of belonging, a sense of connection. And I haven't gone through a day without interacting with any other human being. I have done that before in the past, which was a miserable experience, miserable existence. But my work involved connecting with other people in everything that I do. So like that's like the bright spot of my life. And then again, that limitation of time that I've thought about is that I have a very limited time, but then it's almost like time expands when you connect with another human being. So like when you make the best out of it, it's like more meaning is created. So that's also what I'm imagining about the time that I spend with my kids, because I can be like, oh, my time with them is so short, or, my time is all these things. But then when I'm with them, how do I make the best memories with them? And I'm making the best out of it, in a way, is what I want to focus on. I don't know if I deviated from your question of explaining about the liberation, but that to me is liberating enough to find joy and human connection.
Well, that's certainly one way to pursue happiness, through connection and the truth that comes with connection with family and kids. I guess that can be liberating. It is for me. Yeah. I think my kids certainly give me an ability to be present and identify the truth with life. And sometimes the variables of life try to convince me of the suffering that comes with the lack of control with kids. But it's that gray, what side of the coin am I dealing with? And when I meditate on that and be more present with my kids, that there's, I'll give you this example today. I was doing a speaking engagement and came home, and my wife was with the kids for 8 hours a day, and she pulled up, and she I didn't even realize she turned off the car. She hopped out of the car so quick, and she said, "Tag, you're in." And I, did you even turn off the car? It's a Prius, so you can't tell. But I opened the door and said, "Oh, I see why you're tagging me out. A super diaper blowout all over the car seat for my youngest, right?" And that could be an absolute nightmare horror story, and it is, and it's gross, and it's stinky, and it's all that stuff. And but isn't it wild? I'm telling this story and I'm laughing, and there's this odd, either sick humor or just this happiness and just, hey, I hold I hold the baby while you wash, and we take turns and doing this and getting it out of the car seat. That's, and it could be a form of suffering, but now looking back, like, that's a story that's just funny, and everybody has one of those that has kids.
Yeah.
And there's liberation in that. There's happiness might be a stretch.
Yeah.
But there's joy in that.
Yeah. Sounds too simple, but like, yeah, that's it. Like, not to take things too seriously, that lightness in life can be where joy is. And also, yeah, the other reason, since you're talking about family and kids, the other reason why I think about this topic is that when I'm hanging out with my kids, my daughter is 5, my son is 3, and it's a lot to be there, to be with them by myself. I feel overwhelmed. But then there has been many, many moments, pretty much all the time, actually, on a regular basis, where my daughter asks me, "Are you happy?" And I don't think about it that much, but since she brought that up many, many times, it got me thinking about how important it is to be happy. Like, I cannot force myself happy, but like, if she's noticing me like not having a good time, I'm kind of like losing the essence of spending time with them, So like, it's almost like a mindfulness practice when she asked me that question, like, "Are you happy?" And then I ask myself, no, I'm not, but I can do something about it instead of being stuck in that unhappy, upset, poor me kind of situation. So that's also why I wanted to bring this up for my own benefit as well, to kind of challenge myself that, oh, am I happy right now? And if the answer is no, there's something that I can do about it. Or it can just be a change in the attitude in that moment. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a drastic action where I have to go out for a run or something, So, but yeah, kids are amazing. They pick up things that we're not aware of.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but of course I made it seem nice and funny. But of course, in that moment, I was washing my daughter's hands, and then this might be too graphics for some people. I apologize if it is. But then, of course, I smell, my daughter's name is Maggie, and I smell her hands, and it still smells like poop. So I curl my nose and I look at my wife, and in that moment, it was the thought of judgment that she didn't clean her hands well enough, and she, understandably, based on my facial expression, internalized, "Oh, get over it, it's poop. You've smelled it before. I'm sorry if I didn't get under the nail right." But it wasn't that at all. It was just, I was almost like making this face like, oh my God, it still stinks, and finding the humor in it at that moment. But at that moment, it wasn't humorous, right? I was like, so then I tried to explain myself, but like looking back, I can see that moment for the initial stress. My wife was with the kids for 8 hours, and 2 of them, and just tap out. And then it was poop. And then it was, all of those things. But the gradual steps of just being able to embrace that everyday experience that parents have, and seeing the way I'm looking, you can see me laughing with a smile on my face about even the stressful moments and the headbutting with my wife at that time. I can look back in happiness now. Do you mind sharing a little bit just how meditation serves as a tool to uncover the innate awareness of just these profound insights that can lead to happiness?
Yeah, again, it's a sense of clarity, seeing things as they are. That's what meditation does to me, which comes with acceptance as well. I don't want to get too carried. I've been reflecting on my own experience about, like, I talk a lot for my job, and like words are just words, but like lately I've been just paying attention to what is it that I'm actually hearing and what is it that I'm actually saying, because there's just so many good words, so many good phrases that means a lot, but then I can kind of like hide behind those. So like now I'm saying acceptance and awareness and all these things, but so I want to be more intentional about these words. So what I'm trying to say is that meditation gives me the ability to see things as they are. What I mean by acceptance is that this is the way things are. So in a way, it is freeing to know that, because mind is so predictable. So it gives me that ability to pause and then look at it. which I don't have access to in the heat of the moment with my kids because I have a physical reaction to loud noises and how they like drive me crazy. Two kids wanting two things at the same time, you know. But then like when I kind of recall the place that I can get through meditation is that, yeah, this is life, you know, and it is happening. And I am embracing it. I can embrace it because this is it. So there's a level of acceptance that comes with meditation. Because, you know, with meditation, if you've been practicing, you notice that how difficult it is to still the mind, to still the body. But at the same time, the difficulty comes from my projection. Once I sit with it longer enough, it makes me realize that I don't have to do anything about any of these, especially if you've already set a commitment to sit for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Thoughts come up, oh, I need to call this person, I need to do this, do that, but everything will be okay, you know, even if you don't do that. So that's a base that the meditation gives me. And also the fact that obstacles, you know, in life is part of it, part of the growth.
Well, that sounds like a level of enlightenment or acceptance or reality or truth you've been saying. To get to that part can be challenging sometimes.
Yeah, and the best part is that my problems are not unique. That's also what meditation teaches me, that, yeah, everybody is going through something in a different version. But the parallel theme, though, is that the way life is structured, like how we evolve, how we survive, there's always obstacles that hinder the growth of life, but we somehow make it. So that's also where that acceptance comes from, that when there is difficulty, I'm like, yeah, of course, life is difficult, but we can make it through it.
So far, we've talked about how truth, meditation, altruism, virtue, these are all things that lead to a meaningful life and ultimately happiness. What else comes to mind to help cultivate this true flourishing happiness?
Yeah, circling back to the human connection, but to take it a little further is that idea of service, you know, giving. Yeah, the idea of selflessness is also what brings true happiness. So, yeah, if you are in recovery or if you are in some kind of fellowship or service industry, people can relate to that how much happiness comes from by helping others, which is a paradox. But that's, you know, Buddha is a prime example of that. He spent less time working for enlightenment and then more time for sustaining enlightenment by delivering it to other people. You know, 40 plus years. I think that's his ministry. So yeah, that's another aspect where it comes to happiness, where we help others, that happiness that is generated.
So happiness can't occur in a vacuum. That happiness, you got to give it away to keep it. That's
well, you got to have it first.
Yeah, because then we can spew toxicity, huh?
Yeah, I love those meditation where the intention starts with, may I learn to be happy, you know, starting from within. That to me is a good setup for not only for ourselves, but also to be able to bring happiness to other people. And also that it is possible. Because if I don't start from there, that's where that dukkha is, that when my kids are making me angry, that becomes the source of my suffering. Forgetting the fact that happiness originates from within. But I'm like, only if they change, I'll be happy, which is kind of it's the reverse.
Yeah. And this certainly augments some of our previous episodes in terms of contracted awareness. The problem is my children just aren't listening to me, and they're taking away my peace and serenity and my happiness. Only if this wasn't happening in my life, I would finally have some peace and happiness. And you've been pretty consistent, even though I tried to punch holes in your viewpoint. You keep saying that it comes from within, and these external variables these aren't the reasons that I have this true happiness. So someone is hearing that and goes, sure, that makes sense, whether it's in theory or reality, but I'm still not happy. What do you tell that person?
Yeah. First of all, meditate and examine why are you unhappy, but not in an analytical way, but more of a investigation, like curious way. Um, and then, yeah, self-compassion. Again, these are just words, but, we deserve to be happy, and we have the capacity to be happy. And it's not as complicated as we make it to be. So, yeah, I hope this topic was helpful and meaningful for people. Yeah, life is too short and precious.
So I'll ask you on this birthday version of a Therapist, a Buddhist, and You episode, how happy are you, Zal?
That's a good question. Depends on what time of the day I'm answering it.
Well, we just ate an ice cream cone before that, so that certainly can help, even though that's external.
Yeah. I am very happy, but to be more specific, I am very secure and content from the point of view of like, the other tricky thing about happiness is that I confuse between happiness and distraction. So like, life is full of distractions, and sometimes I think that's where happiness is, but I'm just ignoring the problem by distracting the temporary relief, which is how I used to live, and whereas also how I can still live. For me, my source of happiness and the secure contentment comes from the place that my life now is not avoiding pain, always avoiding pain, which is a losing battle because pain will never stop. But it's more about like, how do I deal with obstacles and pain? And then having a game plan for that, which is a secure way of staying happy because it will keep showing up. But the good news is that the more I deal with it, the better I get down the line. So there's trust in that for me. So in that way, I am very happy to be in that place.
Can you be happy and suffer at the same time?
It depends on what you mean by suffering, but okay. You can be...
Can you be happy and have pain at the same time?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
I think you can.
It depends on the relationship that you have with the pain,
I think the reality and the truth with pain doesn't always have to correlate to sadness. I think, for example, Moe Gaba, the example I gave earlier, there was plenty of times that he had physical pain or even sadness, but he still had this level of flourishing, human flourishing, this joy that can still be present with pain. Mm-hmm. That I can accept things for how they are and still find, and maybe I'm more correlating happiness to peace of mind and serenity. That even though there can be pain, sadness, external chaos, I can still have internal peace and happiness. It's not always an all or nothing, but this level of reality and contentment with all that is in my world. He's nodding his head, so I think...
No, my thought is taking me somewhere else, which is the fact that you kept mentioning about this episode being the birthday episode.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it all about me, but if I were to, I also wanted to give a shout out to my parents because yes. I used to think about my birthday as me, right? But lately I'm like, actually it's about my parents.
Oh yeah, we're so as a parent and knowing what, my wife went through, oh my God, yeah. I can now go to my mom and go, thank you for doing what you did this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We should be celebrating the moms on the birthdays especially. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. So that's what I want to focus my attention on about the birthday. And because it was a very meaningful day when my daughter was born, so I can relate to my parents. Yeah, it's all about that continuation of love, So.
Mama Mo's out there. Thank you.
I think my dad does listen to these episodes every now and then.
There you go.
They live all the way across in Burma. So, yeah, my mom doesn't understand English though. So, she probably has to use some AI to get this
There
podcast
you
translated
go.
into Burmese.
There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you, Luke. This was fun and memorable and meaningful.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for listening in as we talk about genuine happiness. I think the key takeaway is that genuine happiness is an internal journey of self-discovery, wisdom, and compassion, leading us to a life of meaning, purpose, and positive impact on the world around us. I mean, that is part of the collective solution to health and wellness, and something to strive for and meditate on and be more aware of.
Yeah.
Zal, happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. 47.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Please leave a review, like, comment, and as always, if you think someone else would benefit, share this with others. And it is his birthday, so if you want to donate a cup of coffee or a tea, there's a donate button too. Thanks, everyone. My name is Luke.
And this is Zal.
See you next time.
See ya.